All right. Good morning, guys. 80s music. I love that music, man. That's my vibe right there. All right, so 8 o'clock. Interesting morning. We saw a lot of panic over the weekend in the futures Monday, yesterday, last night. So we're gonna have to see how this works out. Today is definitely a day of caution. A day that I don't feel like I need to go out and hit home runs. Today is a day that I want to make sure I sort of just monitor what's going on and just monitor how the market's moving. The problem you're going to have today is that you're going to be heavily influenced by headlines. And that's the problem that we've had over the last few days, last few weeks, is the influence of news. You're basically just trading the news, which is very difficult because you don't know which direction, it's just going to change the direction suddenly, which is very difficult to trust anything. So, it's something that we have to understand as we approach this market today. Headline risk. Concerns of what they're going to come out with. What's the new update on Ukraine and Russia? What's going to affect our positions? It's difficult. We're getting a little bit of a bounce this morning. Looks like maybe just a little bit of a sympathy bounce on that pretty ugly futures yet last night, Friday, and then looks like you're getting a little sympathy bounce. So we'll see. Does this hold? Is this something we trust? It looks like you have the S&P 500, almost flat this morning. Actually just recovered almost all of its red. The Russell is actually green this morning, if you guys saw that. The Russell small caps are green, just barely. That's probably because of some strength on some Russell stocks. And then we have oil, which is obviously, guys, this sector that's going to be strong if this continues is oil. If we still get these concerns in Ukraine, Russia, oil is going to be the one that's strong, and then we'll have to just continue to see how long that goes for. So let's just get started today. Let's look at some names. Let's look at Let's look at the futures, some earnings calendar that's coming out, economic calendar, and then some individual names. So today, it is 2/22, February 22nd, 2/22/22, February 22nd, 2022. Crazy. Pretty interesting. Futures, as always, economic earnings calendar. Oil continues, so XOM, CVX are up this morning. Oil is continuing to push higher. What are the futures at? Oil futures actually starting to slip this morning, actually. That's interesting. So you guys can see here's the /CL. So you're starting to see some oil cool down after a pretty big rally in the futures market last night. So big move higher because of Ukraine, Russia, and then we're starting to sort of slip here. Does this hold up? That's what we're gonna have to see. Upstart. I'm in a position for Upstart. I'm looking for that to fade, that earnings gap. We'll see what happens today. We'll cover it again. Tesla, just wanted to sort of go over Tesla. 800 seems to be the level where it could find support if this market continues to slip. Home Depot had earnings this morning. There is some really strong support at 340. Wanted to show you that. DWAC, a stock that's definitely worth watching today, guys. I mean, it's sort of breaking out on some news of their app going live on the on Apple, on the App Store. Partial outages upon launch. I know this is a very speculative name, a very very I don't know how to explain it. Just a name that people sort of associate with just sort of speculation, which is very true. But this morning it's having a very big move, so I guess it's worth watching. I'll go ahead and show you guys why I am interested. Because of the breakout that we saw today, it's over a very key level. So this could be a runner that may have some. You might not be so correlated to the overall market, which could help a little bit. DWAC shouldn't be very correlated to what's going on the Nasdaq. It should give you a little bit more of its own move. Very difficult. You have to make sure you understand how to trade penny stocks. There are going to be it's not really a penny stock anymore, but that's how it moves. this is going to be totally controlled by day traders and by, you know, all like the Ross Camerons of the world, all those guys. They're going to be looking at this. So let's see what happens today. It's up a lot off that app news, and we'll see if we can continue. We'll look at it. Twilio earnings gap. That's very interesting. Twilio has been crushed, man. It's been continuously getting crushed. It's down again this pre-market, even further. And this could be one that is getting very interesting into this huge gap that it has to fill. We'll show you guys again today. Back down to around 120. So big downside potential here. Baba. I'm not sure why Baba gapped down this morning. I'm not sure if it's just because of weakness on the Asian markets, on the Nikkei and Hang Seng Index. Maybe that's why. Yeah, the HSI was down 2.9%, 2.69% yesterday. Baba, big gap down this morning. Earnings are coming up this week, so this could be another one to watch the downside. I traded puts on this on Friday, which was very nice. We can see if that can continue. And then SE, guys. Excuse me, C Limited. If it breaks under this key 119 level, I think there could be a lot more downside, so I'm going to be watching that. But overall, guys, let's just go over futures. Let's go over some individual names. Once we get over the schedule, we'll look at some SoftBank Group. Like you trim its stake. Okay, that's probably why. Yeah. So I tried to look it up, but I couldn't really find much. So I guess I just missed some news this morning. But yeah, big gap down on Baba could definitely be a watch for downside. Just be careful of earnings. And then SE. After that, we'll look at what the members want to look at, and we will look at some. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of time, so let me just get started so we can look at just some individual names, some names that a lot of us are interested in, just, you know, big tech, get some analysis on those names. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. Let's do this. So first off, let's just look at earnings calendar. Today, in the pre-market, we had Home Depot, Macy's. That might be why you're seeing a little strength on Russell, because Macy's, I think, reported good earnings. Probably getting a little bit of a squeeze there. Not much else. Macy's, Home Depot, those are the big two. Teladoc tonight. That's about it. Caesars, which could be, you know, good watch for the casino names. Before open tomorrow, Lowe's. That's pretty important for Home Depot. We'll see how those report. Here's a lot of like smaller names. Fubo, SKLZ, Skills. Hertz, that's interesting. Clove, I think that's Clove, right? A lot of people watch that. eBay, Lemonade, LMD, or LMT. No, we don't know that. What's Lemonade? LMND, right? LMND. Yeah, Lemonade. That thing's been crushed. That was once a very hot stock. So, interesting. Well, those are some earnings tomorrow. Alibaba, Thursday before open. Moderna, Thursday before open. Wayfair, Nikola. Some big ones. After close, Block. That's, I guess, Square's new company. So if you see that, that's Square, SQ, Block. After close on Thursday, Coinbase, Etsy, Beyond Meat, Open Door. Some big ones there. Intuit, Rocket Mortgage. So there you go, guys. Actually a pretty packed earnings week on this Wednesday and Thursday. So make sure you're aware of that. Screenshot it. Make sure you guys are aware of what's coming out. Economic calendar. Let's make sure we're aware of what's going on in the economic calendar this week. So here we go. We had obviously market closed yesterday. Today, we just have some home price index stuff at 9 o'clock. Should be interesting. Thursday, just our normal jobless claims, right? Normal jobless claims on Thursday. And then here, Friday, guys. Remember, this was the big day we were talking about. So core inflation numbers coming out on Friday. Disposable income, consumer spending, all at 8:30 on Friday. So this is a big earnings. This is a big economic calendar day on Friday, this Friday. So make sure you're aware of that. Some potentially big market moving news here on inflation. Will definitely give us some more insight into what the Fed needs to do and what the Fed is going to be looking at for their data. So make sure we're aware of that Friday. All right, let's do it. Nasdaq. So here's the weekly chart. This is a very zoomed out chart, right? Very zoomed out. And I just want to start here because I think this is a good place to start. Big level at 14,000, guys. Right now, from the tippity top, the very tip of the Nasdaq, we are down just about 16%. So we're down 16% on the Nasdaq from the top. 20% would bring us down to around 13,200. I think a lot of people are started looking at that 20% from the highs type of level. That's indication of a bear market, 20% from the highs. So it would bring us down to around 13,250 if we were to drop 20%, which would also sort of catch up with the 100 SMA on the weekly chart here, in my opinion. If that 100 SMA continues to creep higher, just like that, 20% from the highs would bring us down right to that 100 SMA on the weekly chart. So that's definitely an area I'm watching. Do we drop 20%? Do we go into a bear market? It's very possible. The previous highs near 14,000 is a level that is starting to show some strength, but it's questionable. We closed below it on Friday, and that's a little bit questionable. You can see we're trying to get back above it today, but we're just not quite getting there. So right here, right around 14,000, guys, this is a monster level. You guys can see previous resistance trying to turn into support and trying to turn into support once again. So do we hold this 14 today? If you want to see the market hold here, you definitely need to see a close above 14,000 on the Nasdaq today, guys. If you do not see the Nasdaq close above 14,000 today, I think you're going to continue to see some really quick downside. That's a very key level, 14,000. So keep that on your charts today, 14,000. It tried to hold it on Friday. It sort of bounced back and forth for a long period of time, and then eventually gave up. So you can see back here on Friday. Let me go ahead and zoom in. This is the 5-minute chart. Here's Friday's price action. So you can see we came back down, tried to hold 14,000 for about, what is that? Just about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We tried to hold that 14,000, and we ended up giving it up, sort of bouncing again, and then just sort of finishing at that 14. So 14,000 is monster here. Friday it tried to hold up. Obviously, you can see we slipped in the after hours, came back in the futures on Monday, came all the way down, last night on the Russia-Ukraine tensions, and now we are trying to get back into it. So this area right here is where the market, I think, is trying to figure out, what does it want to do here at 14,000? And that's what we have to see. Do we come into it and reject it this morning? That's very possible. I think I'm just going to sit around, stay patient, and wait to see what the market wants to do as we push towards this 14,000, guys. So that's what I'm going to be watching. Obviously, now that we have this double bottom, that is a huge level, right, to watch today. If the market comes back down to this double bottom, down here around 13.6, that's just a huge level to watch, because if we now drop below that double bottom, sort of like this, then you obviously know where this market's going to be going if you drop below this double bottom. So you have your double bottom here from pre-market sort of futures action here, right here, double bottom, a little bit of a bounce. Yeah, I mean, any bounce that looks like this is not one to trust, guys. This is not something that I would trust. I'm not going to go long on like I'm not going to go put my whole portfolio long here because of this bounce. Absolutely not. I need to see this over 14,000. I wouldn't trust this thing at all until I see maybe a push over 14,000 and maybe even a push over Friday's opening levels. I mean, the only way you can trust, guys, bounces is if you actually break important levels. So the important level, in my opinion, today would be to break Friday's open. If you break Friday's open, this is up here around 14,250, right up here, 14,250. That would be, a bounce that I could trust a little bit more if we break above Friday's levels. But if you don't break Friday's levels, then what is this really doing? It's really nothing. It's just a sympathy, just a little dead cat bounce potentially. So I would watch 14K today. That's huge. And then I would watch Friday's open, 14,250, right around there. So 14,000, 14,250 to the downside, 13,600. Those are the levels that I would watch today, guys. The ES is definitely stronger. There's no doubt about it. The ES is actually holding up at a very interesting level, which is nice to see because of the diversification that the ES has. As we know, tech stocks are the ones that are getting the big beating here. Look at the ES. I mean, this is not a bad place for the ES to be finding support. You can see right here, pullback, 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 and what did we do again? Look at this daily candle that's forming right now. So I mean, I don't want to be delusional and think that we're going to hold here, but this is definitely a level to watch without a doubt. 4,270, Look at this level right here, right? Support, support again, and look at the wick that's being built right now on the ES. So this is an interesting watch for me on the ES. It's a very nice little hold here again, once again at this same exact level. If I go to the 5-minute chart, actually, no, let me go to the hourly. You guys are going to see that we are right there at that level that we bounced off of previously. You guys can see right here. Look at these levels. This was back in late January. Look at what it did this morning after it came back down to that level, 42.70. So I'm not saying this is a strong bounce, because you can see this could just be another lower high without a doubt. It could just reject right here and move back lower. Absolutely. Could absolutely see that. But, you know, I'm definitely interested to see, all right, market's at a key level. What's it going to do here? Because it's bouncing again. At least it showed some resiliency at this level, which makes me at least be interested in seeing what happens, right? It didn't just flush through. If we just flushed through this, you know, it would be a whole different story right now. I think the market would be really ugly. But we held it. So I'm watching that today. I'll be watching Friday's opening levels, the same as the Nasdaq. Let me go to the 5-minute. So Friday's opening levels are just around this 43.90. So we definitely still have a good amount of room to push before I actually trust this bounce. But I just wanted to show you guys this key level today. If I go to the 4-hour chart, totally agree, Babar. Not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, totally agree. Technicals can be, you know, totally invalidated when we have global tensions and economic news. I totally get it. I'm the first one to say that, first one to know that. I'm just showing you guys, you know, the fact of the matter here on the charts, right? This is something I'm not going to ignore. That is definitely a level to watch. It's a level of interest, without a doubt. 42.70 right there on the ES, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I totally agree. Technicals are tough to trust. That's why, you know, I'm not trusting much of anything these days. They're tough to trust. You got to keep your risk in check. But at least watch that 42.70 today, guys. Could just be, you know, lower highs, and we continue lower. But definitely watching 42.70 today. Let's see what happens. If I had to choose where we would reject today, it would be right here. If I had to choose where we would reject today, it would be this double bottom from Monday of last week, right here. Right? Because you guys can see those previous lows. You can see support. We broke it, turned it into resistance, came back down. If we push into around 43.60 today, I would expect resistance. That's where I'm watching for the level to sort of for this push to start to fail. Right around these previous lows of Monday, 43.60. So that's the ES. Just to review the ES, clear out performance. You have a lot of diversification there in the ES, so it's much better, right? It's a much better watch. It's a much stronger market than the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's just the clear loser here. Tech is very weak. All right, Dow Jones looks very similar to the ES, right? In where it's holding. You guys can see right here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, very similar level, 33,600. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is sort of like that just major line in the sand for the Dow and the ES right here at these levels, right? 33,600, 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to bounce off of it again today. You guys can see right here. Look at that level. Look at what it did right there, right this morning, right at that key level. You guys can see it. That green box is, you know, sort of brings back all the way from September, October, or late January. And then look at what it did in that green box this morning. Right here. So green box, big level, right? So 33,600, 33,500, right in that range. You can see that is definitely a demand zone on the market. Pushing higher off of it. Do I trust it? I don't think you can trust this much. I would be very careful trusting this morning bounce. Could easily start to lose it again. Starting to sort of reject at some previous levels, right? You can see we're starting to reject back at some previous support. Broke down, potentially just doing a little retest rejection. Totally possible. So let's be careful. We are still in a downtrend. We're still making lower highs and lower lows. We're getting a little bit of a sympathy bounce today, but this needs to be much further for me to trust anything. I think across all markets today, guys, even across all of your individual stocks, I would want to see moves over Friday's highs. That's what I would want to see. If you want to see any type of shift in momentum today, go to the stock you're watching, chart out Friday's opening levels or Friday's highs, and see if this stock can push over that level. That's the only scenario that I would feel a little bit more comfortable in looking for upside. If it's not getting over Friday's highs, it's just a little bit of a dead cat bounce in my opinion, and nothing that I would trust for very long. Maybe there's some scalp opportunities to the upside today after some really ugly downside. Maybe there's a little bit more sympathy at market open. Maybe there's some intraday volatility to scalp. But overall, the trend on all these names is still very weak. On the tech names, on the indices, still downside. So be careful, guys. Be careful trusting this bounce this morning. Look for those Friday's highs or Friday's opening levels, whatever one is higher. All right, Russell. So the Russell was green this morning. It's just about flat now. It's the strong outperformer this morning. A little bit strength on small caps. However, guys, this looks like a classic little retest rejection. You guys can see right here. Look at this. Look at these previous support levels here. Right here. Look at this support and look at where we're rejecting already. It's just a perfect rejection. Right there. You guys see this? Right here. Double top. Where is that double top coming in on the Russell? It's coming in right there at those previous support levels. So this looks like a very classic rejection to me. If you start to see markets that look like this is just, in my opinion, a little break and retest. If I go to the minus/RTY, what would this look like to you? Right? This is the inverse of the Russell. So this, in my opinion, looks like a little break and retest, little bullish formation, right? You can see break, retest. Where would you think that goes next? Probably higher, right? You probably would think, hey, look, Russell's breaking out. It pulled back. It retested previous resistance, turning it into support. However, guys, this is the inverse of the Russell. This is not the actual Russell. Here's the actual Russell. So you can see little break, retest to the downside, and just watch out for that rejection. Just watch out for that rejection today at 2015. 2015, right? Watch that. So Russell looks a little stronger this morning, but just watch out for resistance. You still have this major level up here at 2100. That level I don't see us getting through anytime soon. That would be pretty incredible if we saw the Russell through 2100, in my opinion. There would have to be some really big shift in the type of buying that's going on to see that. So that's the futures, guys. In general, you're getting a little bit of a bounce this morning. However, please be careful trusting it. Please be careful just going into long positions. I am definitely not trusting of anything on the Nasdaq today. 14,000 looks to be a pretty tough resistance level. Tech is very weak. The only area that I would look for some strength today is potentially the XLP, the consumer staples, and maybe energy, XLE. Those are the two areas that are holding up, if not higher today. So that's the futures. Let's go over oil. Let's just quickly take a look at oil. We can see these are the oil futures. This is crude oil. So right now it's around $93 a barrel. We can see we got to push higher last week into today, up into around this $95 level. But look at what's happening here, right? A little bit of a tough area, right? 95, a little tough. 1, 2, 3, and 4. However, right, just like we talked about earlier, technicals are only somewhat useful here, because if Russia gets crazier and Ukraine, and all this stuff starts to explode today, we are most definitely going to be pushing higher, right? If we get more news about, worsening conditions in Russia and Ukraine, oil is going to continue today. So you're getting a little pullback, a little bit resistance off 95. This is a very news-driven move on oil, guys. So you have to understand that as you get into oil, you are trading a news-driven move on this. I guess you can call it it is a commodity, right? So you got to be careful trading this news-driven move. So you did get your push this morning off news, right? Up into 95 last night, this morning, 95. Big rejection off that level. just keep an eye on what happens today. If you start to see things get worse, you'll probably start to see oil start to creep up again. That's probably what you're going to see. Just keep an eye on the news, see how it affects oil. Right now, you got a rejection off 95, which is just a big, big level on the 4-hour chart right here. You can see that 4-hour chart, rejection, 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 rejection. So with that move, you should see some strength on the XLE, which I'll go to right now. XLE, you can see, is slightly higher this morning, but is giving back some of that move. So we can already see that. You can see slightly higher because of the move on oil, but starting to give it back. So this is going to follow. This is going to follow oil pretty 1-to-1, pretty strong correlation of oil on this XLE move. So got your push higher, starting to pull back. Stocks like XOM, you can see right here, big move higher this morning, pull back. XOM, CVX, same thing, gap higher, and starting to pull back. So those are the stocks that I would watch. XOM, CVX, those are the biggest correlation of the XLE, which is the energy ETF. CVX is sort of sitting at its 20 SMA. That's something I'd be watching. And then the XOM is also sitting right at its 20 SMA. Another thing that I'd be watching. So some pullbacks to the 20 SMAs, maybe some more strength on XLE. If you see more strength on the energy sector, if you see oil pushing higher, these stocks are going to push higher as well. XOM and CVX. So keep an eye on those guys. Upstart. I really want to catch this downside movement. I really do. I think it would be a beautiful trade. It would just make a whole lot of sense all across the board. We've seen not thousands, but you know what, I'm exaggerating. We've seen a lot of stocks fade their earnings move in this weak market, and I'm thinking Upstart can fade this move as well. So Upstart pushed up into this previous resistance around 150, 160, started to reject, got into this on Friday as I started to see this break down right under this very key level around 131, 130. So you guys can see this had previous support here around 131, 130, right in this area. We got that earnings push. We started to fail at that 160, started to break down, Thursday over Friday. And then what did we get on Friday afternoon, which I really liked, something you guys are going to be able to notice here. Previous support right here turned into resistance. So I like to see that for downside. You can see right here, previous support right around 130, turning into resistance. So that is something I am watching. I like how it's rejecting there, and I think this thing can slip. There's not much support, in my opinion, on this stock until maybe around 118, 120, and then back to where the earnings was around 110. So if we go to the daily chart, you guys can see, here's your gap. Let me clean this up for you. Zoom in. Here's your earnings gap up, right? So you have this gap up on earnings. You're starting to fade that move, and I believe this can most definitely move back to fill this gap, and then maybe it starts to consolidate there, right? So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to play this move. I'm in puts right now. We'll see what happens, guys. Just watch this earnings fade. I think it can definitely pull back here on this gap. Something I'm watching. Tesla. So Tesla's at 833 this morning, which is slightly below this little area. Let's take a look here. So here's the 4-hour chart. Right here, guys. Here's the 4-hour. In my opinion, when I first look at this, I think we got to move back to 800. That's this previous resistance that turned into some really strong support. I think it would only be right for Tesla to move back to 800 and find support again. I think it needs to. I think it needs to pick up the buyers down here at 800 if there are any. So right now you're sort of slipping. You've been slipping. You've been just sideways. You might get a little bit of a bounce today, in my opinion, because of the overextension to the downside. I don't really see much support in this area. Maybe just the whole numbers, 820, 830, 840. That's usually what Tesla likes to do. Right now it seems like 840 is a previous support that is potentially turning into resistance. So you can see let me get a little bit more time. Right here, guys, look at this. So 840 was a previous support level, right back here on the 11th of February. And it looks like this may want to turn into resistance today. So if I go into the 5-minute chart now, look at what's happening here. 840 previous support, looks like it could be turning into resistance today. So watch for that 840 to start to slip, that rejection. If you push back into 840 today, maybe look for a little bit of a trap, a little bit of a bull trap. Push higher into 840, little bull trap maybe, and rejection off 840. That could be nice. That's something that I'll definitely be watching, because 840 I know is a tough level. You can see just from Friday, look at that previous support, and we're below that. So that definitely could turn into resistance if we open up and push into that 840. If we get below 820s, these lows here are 830s, I gotta believe you're coming down to 800, guys. I don't see much here on the 4-hour chart until just that really strong 800 level. So if we get more slippage today, I would watch 800 for sure. I would watch 800. Look for that rejection off 840. I think that's actually a pretty interesting watch. Home Depot moving lower on earnings right now. You can see, look at this, starting to lose it pretty aggressively, actually. Interesting. I don't think there's much support, on Home Depot until around this 340 level. So let me sort of set this up here for you guys, what I'm watching. So right here around this 340, you have these previous highs, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. And I'm thinking this 340 level is where Home Depot wants to retest. So right here around 340 is where I think Home Depot would like to retest. We are now below that level around at 335. So we're sort of right in that zone right now, 335 to 340. You can see these previous highs. So I'm looking to see, what does Home Depot do here? Does it really break through all this level? It might, but now it just gets difficult, in my opinion. Now it's not very clear, because now that we are trading in this little chop, let me go back, let me get more time. You can see now that we're trading in this chop, this previous chop from, May, from August, from September, from October, sort of gets difficult, right? What's Home Depot want to do here? Does it want to push, or does it want to hold in this area? This is a tough area to read. I would have liked to see it try to bounce off this level. That would have made much more sense to me. But now you're not really getting that. So Home Depot, just a really clear-cut rejection here. Look at this. You guys can see nice resistance, pushed back into it. This is a perfect break and retest. I'll show you right now. Let me go to the minus Home Depot. Look at this, guys. This is minus Home Depot, so this is the inverse of Home Depot. If this was to the bullish side, look how clean that is, right? You can see how clean that break and retest is right there. Little break, retest of previous resistance, turn it into support, and move higher off of it, right? That's just textbook stuff. However, this is the inverse of Home Depot, so it's pretty inverse, or it's pretty nice to the downside. Pretty nice break and retest to the downside. Break, retest, previous resistance, turn it into resistance again, and then start to move lower. So nice little formation there. I'm just a little concerned about this area over here. Makes it a little bit difficult to read. So I would watch Home Depot. You have Lowe's earnings tomorrow. See how this does today. But very difficult to read sort of in this previous chop. So watch out for that 340 area. DWAC, Digital World Acquisition Corp. The only reason I bring this up today is because I think it's breaking out of a key level. And it looks like it's starting to reject already. So this was, I believe, a pretty key level around 90. Right in this 90 area, I think is a pretty, obviously it's a pretty clear-cut opportunity for a big breakout. You can see right here, nice little flag, or a little ascending wedge, right? Higher low, flat top. You got that breakout. Now, I want to see, do you get more continuation? You can see we got the breakout this morning. However, this looks just like a nasty, nasty candle, so please be careful on this. I am not recommending anyone to trade this today because it's going to be a little bit wild. I would only trade this if you really understand how these move. So you can see higher lows. You got this $90 breakout this morning. Just look at what's happening though, guys. Please be careful here. Just be careful, please. I mean, this is going to be nasty. It's going to be very difficult to read. Just watch for the hold of 90. That's what I would look for. You do not want to see this back below 90. If this gets back below 90, then you're back below a previous resistance and you're just stuck. You just sort of fake this whole move out. Big push all the way up to 138 and then right back down. That's not good. So watch out for 90 today. There's definitely some resistance up here, right in this 110 area. This is just a huge candle back here. A little bit difficult to read. You're going to have to watch this intraday. But in my opinion, guys, you don't want to see this back below 90. Watch that 90 level because that is a big breakout level here on the daily chart. Look at this, right around this 90. So you definitely want to see it hold that as support if you're looking for upside. Twilio. This looks like a very interesting setup to me. If I go to the weekly, actually, I'm going to go daily chart, and I'm going to get more time here. Yeah, we're going to go over NVIDIA after I get through all this. We're going to go through some individual names as well. Look at this chart here on Twilio. You have a big gap to fill here at 122. And look at that nasty bear flag that came in last week. Right here. Big bear flag right there on the daily chart. Really bad breakdown. 2 days just straight down. Really ugly. Bear flag coming down. I'm thinking if you break this, what's the low of this candle? That's what we're going to have to find out. The low of this candle right here is 152.40. 152.40. If we drop below 152.40, I believe that you're going to come into this gap and you are going to see more downside through that gap fill. So that is what I'm watching very closely on Twilio, guys. 152.40. If you get a break under that level, you're in that gap, and I think there could be room to 122. That's a huge dollar amount gap. That's like $30 of nothing here, right? Big area of nothing in this 152 to 122 area. $30 area of no volume. Watch that. Watch Twilio under 152.40. Could be a very nice play. I would keep a watch on that one. All right, Baba. So Baba has earnings coming, and here's the 4-hour chart. Let me pull that up. 4-hour chart. You can see we are down this morning, and if we break down below this 108, 110 area, we can see it very clear. If you start to crack below this level here, guys, I think you are going to see more downside. So watch out for that 108 breakdown, 110 right in this area, right just about a $2 range. You can see the low of this candle is 108, but the lows of these candles are around 110. So 110, 1, 2, 3, watch this. It's either going to be a nice bounce and just sort of trade sideways into earnings, or you're going to get that nasty downside move. So watch out for 108, 110 right in this area. That's a big level. It's been trading sideways for about 2 months now, almost 3 months, which is pretty wild. I would watch that area here on Baba. Let me go to the daily chart. You guys can see it just sort of setting up for potentially another leg lower, in my opinion. It definitely could be setting up for another leg lower. You have upside resistance here at 140. It can't get through that. You have downside support at 110. Which way does it go? Does it move lower on earnings? This is something I'm definitely interested in because this could definitely present more opportunity. Let me go ahead and get more time here. You got to really go back to see where Baba can find support. Man, Baba's just, it's crazy to see what Baba's doing right now. So yeah, I mean, this 110 area is just this previous support, right? Right in this area, 110, 108. So if you break that, I think you got some downside, maybe to 90s, under 100. That could be a little bit crazy. You see Baba under 100. But yeah, you can see this morning, gap down this morning, right here, gap down. 4-hour chart, right around this 110 area. If you break that 110, I think you're moving lower. So watch that. All right, last one I got for you is SE. This looks like another downside play. You got a really big push last week off 119, but you turned it into a really ugly bear flag. Look at this. Let me go to the 4-hour. Look at this bear flag that formed on SE. right here. You guys can see over a few days, you got to push higher. Broke below that uptrend. Big bear flag on the daily chart. I'm going to show you even better. Here's the daily chart. You guys can see right here, bear flag on SE. So watch out for that. You can see right here, 1, 2, 3, big flag downside. I believe if SE moves under 120, this 119, 120, then I believe that you're going to see more. If I go to the weekly chart, there's just not quite much here, guys, on SE. So under 119, you really don't have much. I mean, this was just a vertical move on the weekly chart. So on the daily chart, let me zoom out, get more time. Here's the daily chart on SE. Look at this. So, I mean, this was pretty much a straight up move. I believe if you break this previous low here, the low of this candle was 119.41. So 119.41 is the level I'm watching today. Aren't these stocks down that much already? Why there is no buyers? It's just the market, man. The market's not wanting to buy these stocks. The people are not wanting to be in these names. The names that are holding up are the ones that people are feeling a little bit more safety in. Stocks like Apple, right? More safety in Apple. Stocks like the consumer staple stocks, Costco, right? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, the dividend names, Coca-Cola new highs, Procter & Gamble, Walmart. Right, these names people feel a little bit more safety in. These speculative tech names, these overseas tech names, these small cap names that really don't pull much profit. Those are the names that people just don't want to be in. It's just a total rotation out of these names into safety. That's what we're seeing. So, yeah, let's see. SE under 119.41. That could be interesting. Eventually, this will change, I believe. Eventually people will look at these as opportunities, I think, but just the market's not accepting it right now. All right, so that's what I had, guys, on my list. Watch some of these plays. I really like the SE play. The Twilio play is interesting. BABA earnings should be interesting. Upstart earnings gap, that's going to be interesting as well. So I have a lot of plays that I'm watching. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the stocks that you guys want to look at. If you could take just 1 second, if you're here, to press the like button. If you're new, just subscribe to the channel. That would be great. So let's jump into some of the names that you guys want to look at. Carvana. It's not looking good. This is sort of like what I'm looking at on SE, right? This is sort of like what I'm looking at SE. You can see we had previous lows around this 130. See how when Carvana broke below this previous support, it started to slip? Now look at this real quick. I want to show you this. This is actually really clean. Previous support right here. Previous support right here. Turned into perfect resistance right there. Look at that. Support, resistance. Really clean. Coming back down. Little bear flag, right? This is happening a lot, guys. This is why I bring these up. Little bear flag right here. Breakdown of the bear flag right here. Very clean. Breakdown of the bear flag. Breakdown below these previous lows. Previous low of this candle was 130.25. 130.25. All right. And then once you get that break below that low, look at what happened intraday. That's very interesting. This is sort of textbook stuff here. Look at what happened after we broke below that low. Look at what happened. It turned into resistance. That's not good. That is definitely an indication of downside. You can see previous support at 132.50. I'm sorry, 130.25 right here. Resistance or support turned into resistance intraday. You see that line right there at 130? Look at what it did intraday here. So turn that into resistance. I would definitely look for more downside. I see you have it, looking for more downside. I would agree. I would probably think this can move down into maybe like 109, 110, right in that area. Something that I would like to make a point of, which maybe I'm trying to be like a Michael Burry here, but if you guys know CarMax, Carvana, Vroom, all these third-party dealerships, or whatever you want to call them, they bought so many cars at pretty high inflated values, guys. People just gave them their cars, took the money, and ran. You saw what happened with Zillow buying too many houses at overpriced values. I do not want to know the possibilities. I don't want to think about the possibilities that could happen if all of these companies get stuck with really high inventory and people stop buying cars. This is very interesting. This is a very interesting scenario for some of these names because Carvana, Vroom, CarMax, all those companies bought so many cars at overpriced values. And I have a bunch of buddies that are in the car dealership world, and I'm sort of very in tune with what's going on. This is definitely interesting because if you guys check out what they're selling cars for, they're usually very expensive because they paid a lot for them in the first place, but they just did it because they needed inventory. Because CarMax can't survive without used car inventory, right? And they had to overpay to get that inventory. So they had to overpay to get the inventory. Now, market seems to be shifting. I don't know if you guys know, but the used car market is not as hot as it once was. You're definitely starting to slope lower. You're definitely starting to slope just a little bit lower. It's not quite as strong as it once was. Billy Frank, yeah, I'm sure some of you guys know better than me. I run a dealership, tell you that they aren't making money now. They'll never be profitable. Yeah, I think it's good for the consumer because you definitely got a lot of money for your car, so congrats on that. But this is an interesting spot because they definitely have a lot of inventory now. How are they going to get rid of that inventory is the question. I think you're starting to see that a little bit. I think the market's starting to shift on them just a little bit. So interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not trying. That's just a little bit of a hypothesis for you. I'm not sure. That's going to happen. Yeah, I know there's a car shortage, but they have a lot of inventory that they paid a lot of money for, so it's just interesting. I hope it works out for them. I hope they figure out how to unload that inventory. Teladoc, ooh. I mean, this is just it's just classic. This is just classic virus push higher and it's just dead, right? I mean, everyone thought Teladoc was the new sliced bread, when virus came out, right? And everyone's like, oh, this is the new future, overvalued, got overvalued by a ton. $308 from $48, right? That's just crazy. Huge move, a 300% move during the virus. And this is just textbook virus, the stocks that went higher on the virus news that got overvalued are just going to lose here. That's just what it's going to happen. It's just a slow slippage. Everyone that, all this push higher, all this valuation that came into this name because of the virus, all that, the stay-at-home trade is just all sort of slipping out of it. So we are now back at right around very far below pre. Actually, no, we're not below pre yet. Are we? No, where's March 2020? Oh yeah, we are below the pre-virus levels. So we're below pre-virus levels. I don't know. I mean, maybe back to like 50s. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is just a textbook, stay-at-home trade that is now dead. That's really all it is. So I would not be looking for upside here. Maybe even more downside. It did the exact same thing as I just talked about on, didn't it? It did the exact same thing I talked about on Carvana. Little bear flag breakdown. Right here, look at this. Bear flag, break of previous lows. This formation is showing up everywhere, guys. Please understand this formation. Please pay attention to this because this is happening everywhere. Bear flag, break of previous lows. It happened on Square. Look at this on Square. Exact same thing. Bear flag, break of previous lows. We just saw it on Carvana. Bear flag, break of previous lows. It's happening everywhere. And if that happens on Twilio today, actually it already did. Bear flag, break of previous lows. So it's just, this formation's everywhere, guys. It's not like I'm just making this stuff up. This is everywhere. If you see this formation, look for lows. Upstart, we already looked at, so I'm going to pass it. I'm just looking for this to fade in the earnings gap. We already looked at that. ISPO, guys, I can't really help you on this. I don't know why you bring this stock up. This is just a penny stock runner. This is going to be attacked to hell by short sellers today. I mean, this thing is going to be attacked by short sellers. It's probably going to come back down to where it started, and that'll be it. No one will talk about ISPO ever again. APA, not sure what this is. I would just look for this retest right here. This is actually a very nice retest at 31. You can see it right here, right? Previous highs, turns into support. You need to see that push off that retest right at 31. NVIDIA, we already did DWAC. NVIDIA, I'm not loving this. It's, it broke back below 240. It's not the best looking move right now. It definitely has been weak. You're just going to have to watch the tech sector, in my opinion. That's really my opinion. You have these previous highs here, which I think you're trying to hold right at 230. So that's the first thing that I'd watch. These previous highs right at 230. That's a big level. So 230, first thing I'm watching. Next, you have the previous you have a little double bottom right in this area. Let me go ahead and go to the hourly. So you have right at that 230. Here's what you also have, right? You have previous support or previous resistance in this area, support, and maybe support. So today, guys, I would watch 230 if you're watching NVIDIA. If you break below 230, I would look for more downside. 230, I think, is sort of that line in the sand. That's the level I would watch, $230 a share. That, I believe, is a very big level here, right? Previous resistance needs to turn into support. If you do not turn that into support, I think you are going to come down and probably test this 215 low right in here. 230. I already did DWAC. You can go back. Visa. Yeah, Visa trying to hold this 220 area, right? That's the monster level right now. I see what you wrote. Visa, monster level at 220, right? Look at that. Support, resistance, support. If you do not hold 220 on Visa today, guys, I think that slips. So watch 220. That's a big level on Visa. APA's energy. Okay. Then yeah, APA, if that's energy, you might get a push off that retest. /CL, yeah, we looked at oil. We got the rejection of 95. Already looked at that one. DVN, that's another oil or another energy one, it looks like. Yeah, look at this. I mean, you can just tell. You can tell what sector this is in. You don't even need to know, right? That if you see this on any stock, it's probably an energy. So right here, guys, you can see continuation. It's slow, though. This is maybe a stock you buy shares in if you believe in it, right? Devon. Not try to pronounce that. It's probably Devon. Yeah, I mean, this is really slow. I don't know if this is a trade on options. Look at the price action is not really there for options, very choppy, but you can see the overall trend when you do zoom out is very strong. That's a stock that I would usually, stay on the side of just investing into if I like it. Not really a trade that I would, play options on. When I see it so choppy and just sort of grinding, it's not very easy to make money in an environment. Even though this is pushing higher, this is a very difficult area for options to appreciate in value because it's very back and forth, very slow. Data decay is coming in really, much better than it would be if the stock was sort of pushing quick. So it's a difficult spot. I would be more of an investor here than an options trader. All right, I'm going to go over Netflix and Shop because I see a lot of you guys talking about it real quick, and then we're going to jump out of here. All right, so Netflix. Netflix has to hold this 390 area, right? If it doesn't, you're coming right back down to this 357, 360. I mean, it's a pretty big little area here. It's a pretty big hold is what I mean. Right here, you can see, right here, 390s trying to hold up this previous resistance right in this area, right? Previous resistance trying to turn into support. If it does not, I think you come right back down to this 356. So watch that. This could just maybe be another one of those little flag patterns that break down. I don't know. But yeah, keep an eye on that. Be careful, guys. 390 has to hold. Shopify is just the definition of bear flag breakdown. Look at this. That's just bad. That's really bad. Bear flag, break of previous lows, really ugly. I wouldn't touch Shopify. It's a falling knife right now, in my opinion. I think you probably need to come down to 550. I think that's where Shopify maybe heads to today, guys. Or not today, but over the next few weeks. Right here, guys. 550. I think that's probably where you're headed. All right, guys. If you could take just 1 second, press the like button for me. That would be much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now that you're here, tomorrow is the last day this week that I will be on the live stream. Tomorrow is the last day this week I will be on the live stream. So tomorrow morning I'll be here. Thursday morning, Friday morning, I will not be here, guys. So unfortunately, you get a little bit of a break from me, a little break from the live streams. I apologize. I'm going away, taking a few days. I don't think it's a bad time to do it because I'm really not interested in getting involved in this market right now. So I'm just gonna take some time. I'm going to enjoy a vacation, and so Thursday, Friday I won't be here. Tomorrow I will be. So tomorrow's the last day for the live stream. Thursday, Friday off, and then we're back to it on Monday. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for the support. Hopefully today helps. Press the like button, subscribe. And if you want to come hang out in the Discord chat, we're about to trade live there. Come check it out down below. Link in the description. Come check out the Discord where we trade during the day. Yeah, Epstein Island. Yep, that's where I'm going. All right, guys. Peace out.